Welcome to the Life in the UK Test Academy. Our audio-visual tutorials are designed to ensure that you pass the Life in the UK test on your very first attempt. If you want us to upload more of these tutorials, please make sure to tap the like and subscribe buttons.
The Restoration. The Restoration refers to the period in history that began in 1660. Britain had been a republic, but now people wanted the monarchy restored to power. Some very important events in British history happened during this time. In this lesson, we will learn more about the Restoration as we prepare for the Life in the UK test. In May 1660, Parliament invited Charles II to come back from exile in the Netherlands. He was crowned King Charles II of England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. Charles II made it clear that he had no wish to go on his travels again. He understood that he could not always do as he wished, but would sometimes need to reach agreement with Parliament. Generally, Parliament supported his policies. The Church of England again became the established official church. Both Roman Catholics and Puritans were kept out of power. During Charles II's reign, in 1665, there was a major outbreak of plague in London. Thousands of people died, especially in poorer areas. The following year, a great fire destroyed much of the city, including many churches and St. Paul's Cathedral. London was rebuilt with a new St. Paul's, which was designed by a famous architect, Sir Christopher Wren. Samuel Pepys wrote about these events in a diary, which was later published and is still read today. The Habeas Corpus Act became law in 1679. This was a very important piece of legislation which remains relevant today. Habeas corpus is Latin for "you must present the person in court." The Act guaranteed that no one could be held prisoner unlawfully. Every prisoner has a right to a court hearing. Charles II was interested in science. During his reign, the Royal Society was formed to promote natural knowledge. This is the oldest surviving scientific society in the world. Among its early members were Sir Edmund Halley, who successfully predicted the return of the comet now called Halley's Comet. Isaac Newton, 1643 to 1727. Born in Lincolnshire, eastern England, Isaac Newton first became interested in science when he studied at Cambridge University. He became an important figure in the field. His most famous published work was Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, which showed how gravity applied to the whole universe. Newton also discovered that white light is made up of the colours of the rainbow. Many of his discoveries are still important for modern science. A Catholic king, Charles II had no legitimate children. He died in 1685 and his brother, James, who was a Roman Catholic, became King James II in England, Wales and Ireland and King James VII of Scotland. James favoured Roman Catholics and allowed them to be army officers, which an Act of Parliament had forbidden. He did not seek to reach agreements with Parliament and arrested some of the bishops of the Church of England. People in England worried that James wanted to make England a Catholic country once more. However, his heirs were his two daughters, who were both firmly Protestant, and people thought that this meant that there would soon be a Protestant monarch again. Then James's wife had a son. Suddenly, it seemed likely that the next monarch would not be a Protestant after all. The Glorious Revolution. James II's elder daughter, Mary, was married to her cousin, William of Orange, the Protestant ruler of the Netherlands. In 1688, important Protestants in England asked William to invade England and proclaim himself king. When William reached England, there was no resistance. James fled to France, and William took over the throne, becoming William III in England, Wales and Ireland, and William II of Scotland. William ruled jointly with Mary. This event was later called the Glorious Revolution because there was no fighting in England and because it guaranteed the power of Parliament, ending the threat of a monarch ruling on his or her own as he or she wished. James II wanted to regain the throne and invaded Ireland with the help of a French army. William defeated James II at the Battle of the Boyne in Ireland in 1690. An event which is still celebrated by some in Northern Ireland today. William reconquered Ireland and James fled back to France. Many restrictions were placed on the Roman Catholic Church in Ireland, and Irish Catholics were unable to take part in the government. There was also support for James in Scotland. An attempt at an armed rebellion in support of James was quickly defeated at Killiecrankie. All Scottish clans were required formally to accept William as king by taking an oath. The MacDonalds of Glencoe were late in taking the oath and were all killed. The memory of this massacre meant that some Scots distrusted the new government. Some continued to believe that James was the rightful king, particularly in Scotland. Some joined him in exile in France. Others were secret supporters. James's supporters became known as Jacobites. Now that we've finished this chapter, let's take a look at some questions based on the material we have just covered. Questions will appear on screen and you will have 10 seconds to come up with the correct answer. After the 10 seconds have elapsed, the video will indicate the correct answer, together with a brief explanation. If you need more time to answer, please press the pause button. Good luck!